Page 57. Bill wrote Paul a letter before he left. During the last 14 years, we have had numerous disagreements, he wrote. However, I doubt any two partners have ever agreed on as much. In 1984, Bill appeared on the cover of Time magazine for the first time. He was now the face of Microsoft. From then on, whenever people thought of Microsoft, they would think of Bill Gates. 58-59, Chapter 7. On the fast track. If Bill liked to move fast, he was in the right industry. In the 1980s, the computer industry was changing at a dizzying pace. There were new companies, new ideas, and new products. Competition was fierce. In 1985, Microsoft came out with their newest software update, Windows. What made it so different was a little pointer called a mouse. The little device had actually been invented years before, but this was the first time that most computer owners had ever used one. The mouse drove a system that radically changed the old PC way of doing things. Before, PC users had to memorize commands and type them on a keyboard. But with Windows, users could just point to pictures, icons, on the computer screen. Click the mouse and an entire program would open. Point and click on another icon and another program would open that ran at the same time. Having more than one screen open at a time was why the new software was called Windows. Xerox had been the first computer company to use a mouse, followed by Apple. After Microsoft came out with Windows, Apple sued the company for taking parts of their design. Microsoft won in court when they showed that their product was truly different from Apple's. Page 60-61. Windows was user-friendly, a new term meaning it was easy to use. Computers were changing what many words meant. Programmers liked to use familiar words and apply them to computers. Words such as menu, tool, dock, paste, and of course, mouse got brand new meanings. Work at Microsoft was more intense than ever, and so was Bill. Success didn't make him relax. No matter how well his company did, Bill was always looking over his shoulder to see who was gaining on him. There was hardly time to think. So Bill started going on a retreat once a year, just to reflect on fresh ideas in the future of computers. He called this time out Think Week. It gave him time to read about new ideas in the field. Many of the ideas were turned in by his staff. Bill realized that his managers also needed breaks, so Bill made Think Week a yearly holiday for them too. In 1986, Bill took Microsoft public. Going public means that anybody, not just workers at a company, can buy shares of stock in that company. Shares, small pieces of a company, are sold on the stock market. Shares in Microsoft sold at lightning speed. Overnight, Bill Gates and co-founder Paul Allen became millionaires. By 1987, the value of the stock had risen so high that Bill became a billionaire. He was just 31 years old, the youngest self-made billionaire up until then. $1 billion is so much money that it's almost hard to fathom. In his book, How Much is a Million?, David M. Schwartz figured out that it would take over 95 years to count out loud to 1 billion. And that's without taking any breaks to eat or sleep. 62-63. Put another way, if you made 1 billion in a year, you'd be earning about 19 million a week, 475,000 an hour, and $8,000 a second. 8 years after becoming a billionaire, Bill was listed as the richest man on earth. He kept this top spot for many years, from 1995 to 2007, and again in 2009. Bill's fortune was worth well over $50 billion. How long would it take to count to that? Go figure it out. Chapter 8, Family Life. Hugely rich and successful, Bill showed no desire to get married. His business remained his first love. Then, at 32, Bill met an attractive, dark-haired manager at a Microsoft picnic. Her name was Melinda French. When he talked to her, Bill could tell that Melinda was smart, independent, and fun-loving. It didn't take long before the two were going out together. Melinda, 9 years younger than Bill, had grown up in Dallas, Texas. She was the #1 student in her high school class. At Duke University, she got degrees in both computer science and economics. Then she went on to get a graduate degree in business. Soon after that, Melinda was hired by Microsoft. Right from the start, others could see that Melinda was a good match for Bill. She shared his interests and understood his business. Whenever they were seen together, the couple seemed to be laughing and talking spiritedly. On New Year's Day, 1994, Bill and Melinda were married on the island of Lanai in Hawaii. 66-67. The wedding was world news. However, Bill and Melinda had privacy by renting all the hotel rooms on the island and hiring all the helicopters. That way, photographers couldn't fly over the wedding and take pictures. Bill was 38. He had stayed single longer than most men. Now he found that married life with Melinda suited him to a T. His personal life began to take on new meaning. In 1995, the couple took off on a trip to explore the world, going everywhere from China to Africa. The next year, their first child was born. The Gateses named their daughter Jennifer Catherine. 3 years later, in 1999, they had a son, Rory John. And in 2002, their third child, Phoebe Adele, joined the family. 68-69. Bill had started to build a new house even before getting engaged to Melinda. In 1997, the 55,000 square foot dream house was ready for the Gates to move in. The mansion was built at the top of a steep hill overlooking Lake Washington outside Seattle. To save trees from being cut down, the home was mostly made from salvaged or old lumber. 70-71. To save energy and keep the house safe during earthquakes, it was built into the hillside. The style of the house is very modern, and of course the technology is state-of-the-art. Guests can wear a badge with a tiny microchip that contains information about their favorite things. The chip sends signals when a guest enters a room, his favorite music plays. The lighting and room temperature automatically adjust to suit the person's taste. Even his favorite art is displayed on the walls. The work of art appear on screens that are controlled electronically. The estate has everything one could wish for. There is a game room, a movie theater, and a gym. A 60-foot-long indoor pool plays music underwater. It also has a glass wall that swimmers can dive beneath to get outside. There, they find a boathouse, a dock, and a guest house. 72-73. Of all the beautiful rooms, Bill's favorite is the enormous library. A bookcase behind a secret wall in the library holds a treasure that's over 500 years old. It is a handwritten notebook by the genius Leonardo Da Vinci. Bill paid over $30 million to buy it. Despite the mansion's grand scale, the main living quarters of the family are fairly modest, with 7 bedrooms. Only their closest friends are invited to this part of the house. Even though their fame is worldwide, the Gateses guard their privacy. Bill and Melinda want their children to have normal, happy childhoods like they both had. Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci, 1452 to 1519. Leonardo was one of the most amazing people who ever lived. He was a genius in more fields than any scientist of any age and an astonishing painter and sculptor. That's how Bill described Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo lived 500 years ago in Italy. He is most renowned for his paintings with masterpieces such as the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper. But he had a brilliant scientific mind too. Leonardo designed things that were hundreds of years before their time, such as a flying machine and a submarine. Leonardo filled notebooks with his brilliant ideas and drawings. 21 of them survive today. In 1994, Bill Gates bought one of Leonardo's scientific notebooks. Each year, he sends it on a world tour to different museums where others can enjoy the notebook. Chapter 9, Facing Challenges, page 76. A new kind of surfing became popular in the 1990s. Instead of surfing ocean waves, people began surfing the internet. The internet is a world wide web of linked computers. By surfing the internet, going from site to site, users can learn about almost anything without leaving their chairs. In its early days, Bill did not realize the importance of the internet. The internet frontier attracted lots of other business people, though. New internet companies sprang up almost overnight. One company was Netscape, which made a popular browser. A browser connects computer users to the internet and the sites they want to visit. 78-79. Suddenly, Bill realized his mistake. He was jolted into action. He wrote a long memo to his employees. The subject line was "The Internet Tidal Wave." In the memo, Bill declared that the Internet was the most important single development since the PC. He told everyone at Microsoft to make the Internet a top priority. In 1995, Bill launched Microsoft's first Internet browser. It was called Internet Explorer. By that time, Netscape had already cornered more than 90% of browser sales. Microsoft had a lot of catching up to do. Bill charged ahead by bundling Microsoft's browser with its operating system. Anyone who bought Windows got Internet Explorer for free. Because of this, Internet Explorer zoomed ahead and overtook Netscape. This time, however, Bill's bold actions got him into legal trouble. In 1998, the U.S. Department of Justice took Microsoft to court. Why? It's not illegal, after all, to have a very popular product that everyone wants to buy, but it is against U.S. law to prevent competition from another company making a similar product. According to the government, that's what Microsoft was doing. At that time, about 80% of PCs ran Microsoft's operating system. Now they would automatically be using Internet Explorer 2. 8081. Companies such as Netscape had no way to compete. According to the lawsuit, that wasn't fair. The trial was a terrible blow to Bill, but many people had no sympathy for him or his company. During the rise of his computer empire, Bill had made many enemies. His critics said Bill wanted to win at all costs. In the business world, he was seen as a big bully. Many people thought Bill was arrogant. Even at the trial, he seemed defiant. Bill said that being sued by his government was the worst thing that had ever happened to him. To Bill, the legal charges against his company made no sense. He pointed out that Microsoft spent billions each year to research and develop new products. Punishing a company for success would be a threat to innovation, Bill claimed. The court did not agree with Bill. In 2000, a judge ordered Microsoft to be split in two. One company for operating systems and a second for software development. Later, the ruling was overturned. Finally, in 2002, the case was settled in Microsoft's favor. Although Microsoft had to change some of the ways it did business, the giant company could stay in one piece. The trial lasted 4 years, but through it all, Bill kept showing up to work each day with his usual energy. Why did he even bother to work when he had so much money? Someone asked that very question and sent it into the newspaper column that Bill wrote. The column was called Ask Bill. Bill wrote back, "The answer is simple. I do what I find interesting and challenging, and I think I have the best job in the world." Nonetheless, Bill was no longer thinking about Microsoft morning, noon, and night. Serious world problems had caught his attention. Bill had begun to think he should use his mind, power, and money to help solve those problems. Chapter 10, page 83. Sharing wealth. The English language has a special word for a person who donates a lot of money to the common good. Philanthropist. Say philanthropist. Philanthropist. After years of making enormous amounts of money, Bill began giving enormous amounts away. Important people in Bill's life inspired him to be very generous. His mother, Mary Gates, had been active in charity work before she died in 1994. Bill's friend, Warren Buffett, also urged him to 84-85. Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is one of the wealthiest men in the world and one of the most generous. Buffett's company is called Berkshire Hathaway. It does not make products the way Microsoft does. Instead, Berkshire Hathaway buys other companies that are run well and whose products Warren Buffett likes, such as See's Candy, Geico Car Insurance, and Fruit of the Loom underwear. But Warren Buffett is not only known for his smart business mind. He is also incredibly generous. He has promised to give away 99% of his wealth. In 2006, Warren Buffett pledged a gift of stock worth roughly $30 billion to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to be given over 20 years.